9 out of 10 trees don't die or become a nuisance because of bad luck. Their dire fate was sealed the day they were planted. So my mission today is to give you the 8 biggest tree planting mistakes that lead to more work, costly repairs, and ultimately, unfortunately, dead trees. But more importantly, I want to tell you how to avoid all of that. In professional landscaping, the most commonly thing done wrong is a hole too small. And then on the other side of the coin, digging too big a hole, especially too deep a hole. We're digging a hole that's 2 or 3 times the size of the pot. If you drill for the hole or use an auger, you have these kind of shiny sides that aren't good for roots and water to go into. So we want to dig wide, odd-shaped holes so that those roots are encouraged to go out into the native soil. So this is an interesting hole because there was already a tree here that died before I owned the property. Digging it up, we found hardpan. That's hard stuff, which was about 8 to 10 inches thick. It's like concrete, but in a rock form. My first explanation to you is going to contradict what I just said. If you find hardpan or hard compacted soil, then you have to dig a deep hole. We had hardpan at about 2.5 feet. We used jackhammers and sharpshooters to get through it, and we ended up going down about 3.5 feet. And getting through it is not only important because we want the roots to grow through it, but we want the water to go through it. We don't want water sitting on top of that. This next mistake is one of the scariest on the list because it creates a problem underground that can slowly strangle a tree years after planting, while everything above the ground looks normal. Look at the bottom of this tree and see roots coming out, which means it isn't just barely ready to sell. It's probably a little past ready. We need to be careful about making sure we break up the root ball properly and stop this process of roots circling around each other because we don't want that to happen in the hole. We want it to root out. What we'll do is we'll take it out of the container, and the best way to do that is lay it on the ground. Just roll it either with your hand or your foot. Try to loosen it up. I can see maybe these won't be easy to get out. We don't want to break up the root ball completely. We just want to loosen the roots. We'll go all the way around. We'll look at the bottom and we'll just, oh yeah, it's not bad. And that gives us a tree that's ready to plant. The next mistake is probably the most common because people accidentally doom trees before they even finish planting them. So we dug this hole and we went deep because we had to, because we had real hardpan. We got rid of that hardpan. Then we estimated what depth we should have dug if we didn't have that problem with the bad soil. And we filled it back in and we settled it by watering it overnight. We want to make sure we do everything we can to get this to settle before we plant the tree. We don't want it settling after we plant the tree because that's what is one of the biggest problems trees have, and the reason they die is when they settle and they're low and then water collects around them. The other thing we look at is what's called the root flare, which is where the roots end and the trunk begins. It appears to be right here. It is just a little bit buried from the nursery. We're gonna plant this tree a little bit high and that root flare will be high also. We can actually lift the tree in and see what kind of level we're at. So I got it just where I want it, a little bit high, keeping in mind that I think it might settle a little. I've got the backfill native soil ready to go in, infused with life. Native soil is the best way to plant a lot of trees. We're worried about changing the texture of the hole because if we were to put a bunch of organic matter, a bunch of bulk organic matter, it would encourage the water and the roots to just stay in this little hole that we dug. Sometimes the things meant to help young trees actually make them weaker in the long term, setting them up to fail the moment they experience real wind or storms or just a lot of growth. You know, your trees usually come with a nursery stake, as this did, and this one I already tested it. If I take off the nursery stake, it doesn't stay straight. So usually our technique is we stake it properly, but we leave the nursery stake on for 1 year and leave the double lodgepole stakes on for another year, and then if everything's going well, which frequently it does, we can take both of these lodgepole stakes off after 2 years in the ground. If you stake them properly, the trees won't stand up straight and fall over time and look terrible and don't perform well. That leads into how we stake, as is most things in landscape and gardening. You hear different versions of this, but my preferred way is to put 2 stakes on either side of the trunk and pull it slightly into the prevailing wind direction so that when we use these flexible ties, we get the most movement. When the wind blows and it moves, it gets wider at the base of the trunk than up a few feet. That's called tensile strength. If we put the stake right in front of the perpendicular wind direction, then the wind would hit the stake and we're not going to get as much movement. That's good. If this video saves you from paying for a future tree removal, cracked driveway, or a surprise arborist bill, hit subscribe. Chip and I will appreciate it. Now this is where a lot of people accidentally stress trees instead of helping them, because newly planted roots are far more vulnerable than most fertilizer companies would like you to believe. With synthetic fertilizers that release quickly, it's easy to burn a tree, especially a newly planted tree. So what we fertilize with is our organic products, Blend, which is a combination of Optimize, Nourish Biosol, and Maximize. So within that combination, we have concentrated organic matter, fertilizer made from mycelium, which has all kinds of macro and micronutrients in it and is food for microbes. And we have mycorrhiza, which we used in the backfill, and basalt, which has every kind of mineral in it, and a concentrated organic compost. All of these things are fantastic for new trees. We already have some in the backfill, so I'll just use a few handfuls around where we're gonna water it. Now, we don't have to be real conscious about watering it in because it won't burn. With a chemical fertilizer, if you don't water it in right away on a hot day, it could burn very quickly. In addition to the Blend, then we used our Penetrate Liquid Biotiller, which has beneficial bacteria and it has food for the bacteria. It helps these roots take up all the nutrients that we're providing, plus the nutrients that are already in the soil. And then we just drench it over the root ball and in the basin that we created. Then we'll let that sink in a little bit, and then we'll supplement that with more water. Even perfectly planted trees can fail if their roots never learn to grow where they're supposed to. And most people unknowingly train them incorrectly from day one. So I'm gonna soak this root ball with a hose, and I just have it on a little bit. We'll leave it on a while. We wanna really soak it. When we water, we don't wanna water like we would water, say, a cool season lawn, where there's almost always moisture on the surface, because then the roots will just stay on the surface and the roots will be a problem for nearby walls and walks. So one thing we want to do is we want to encourage deep rooting. Some trees have a certain amount of shallow rooting, even if they're perfectly healthy, but we want to encourage deep rooting, and we're going to do that. In this case, we're going to put in a drip system, and we're going to use just 3 emitters right around the root ball. So that's our whole mindset here, is we're going to water deeply and infrequently. The next mistake probably causes more expensive regret than anything else on this list, because trees and their roots don't stay the same size as they were at the nursery. DNR cedars have some pretty big, ambitious roots. The first thing you should probably do is not plant trees close to walkways or your house if you can avoid it. You know, if it's a good sized tree and it's within 8 feet of a walkway or some kind of paving, it's recommended to use root barriers. So this new one that we just planted is within 6 feet of our new sidewalk. We not only did everything right with the tree planting to get deep rooting, but we're also going to use root barriers. So our favorite root barrier is Deep Root, an excellent brand of root barriers, and they are sponsoring this video in order to show you how to properly use Deep Root barriers. So we're going to show you a couple of different situations. One is how you use them for a new tree. And the second thing we're going to show you is preventing damage from existing trees that don't have root barriers. So deep root barriers are made from about 75 to 90% recycled plastic. And then they're injected with a ultraviolet inhibitor that protects them from the sun. And I like deep root because they're very sturdy and strong on the top. This one is 18 inches and 2 feet long. These slide together like that, and then you just put together as many as you need. They're available in several sizes, but the most commonly used in home gardens is either the 18-inch or the 2-foot. I prefer the 18-inch if the tree isn't really famous for being tremendously poorly behaved with roots, and if we aren't protecting the foundation of a house or something. The other thing that isn't widely recognized is trees have surface roots that are important, that are usually in the top 18 inches. They're feeder roots and they're anchoring roots. And so if we want to only encourage tree rooting deeper than 18 inches, then we might be sacrificing some of the anchoring capability. So I like this fact that the whole idea here is these direct roots downward. So the roots hit here and then they go downward and they go below these 18-inch barriers. You can see the corner of our walk lines up with the Deodar cedar. Manuel and Roberto are gonna put this in, and we want it to come up just barely below this paving, and we want the root barrier to be right next to the paving so that there's no way a root could go and get over the top of the root barrier. So we're backfilling it, and then we're going to lift it a little as we backfill it and get it up just the right height. We don't want it so high that it could trip people, so it's going to be slightly lower than the top of the concrete. I'd like to get it, you know, right to here. We just showed you one application where you plant the new tree and then you put them along nearby walks. Another way with new trees is you can encircle the whole root barrier around the tree. I'm not as big a fan of that, and that doesn't allow that surface rooting that I was talking about. That's on new trees. Now you have a whole new situation that probably many of you have encountered in your own yards, and that's with existing trees that don't have root barriers causing damage. We just addressed one for a homeowner where his neighbor had a big redwood tree and it was slightly lifting his deck, and you could see that it was starting to damage the deck. He hired us to do some root pruning and put a root barrier right along the edge. And again, we used 18-inch. Those fibrous roots now are gonna hit that root barrier as that redwood tree continues to grow and go down deeper and not cause damage. Really a very simple process. A homeowner could do it himself. The truth is, planting a tree correctly is only half the battle. The other half is choosing the right tree. If you want to avoid planting a tree you'll regret later, watch this video next where we break down 5 good trees that will completely transform your landscape, and 5 you might want to think twice about planting.